Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be giving you my 5 things that you should do before working with a Chinese supplier. Whether you're in the Amazon FBA game and you're getting your suppliers from Alibaba, or you are in the dropshipping game and you are working with AliExpress suppliers, this video is for you. If you don't do these 5 things, you can lose a lot of money. You can lose a lot of money because of the fact that you've chosen a supplier who is overpriced and you're paying more for your items than you should. Or you could lose money from purchasing poorly manufactured items that make customers ask for a refund. And you can even lose money from being sued. So if you want to choose the right supplier so that none of this happens to you, keep watching this video. Tip 1. Check to see if your Chinese supplier has been to a trade show. Not all suppliers will have been to trade shows, and that's absolutely okay. In fact, most suppliers probably haven't been to one. But if you can find one that has, that is a big bonus. It indicates they are producing quality products. If their products were poorly produced, they'd be unlikely to bother showing them off at a trade show. And this, of course, is very important because of the fact that you want to be purchasing quality products that won't break, because if they break, you're going to have unhappy customers. Plus, trade shows are also expensive to exhibit at. The fact that they have enough money to attend one indicates their company is financially stable. And of course, this is important because if you find a hot selling item that has just a single manufacturer and that manufacturer goes out of business, well then you have no items to sell. Manufacturing items as cheaply as they are in China means that those companies are working off of small margins. So if they are not managed correctly, then they can risk going bankrupt. So if you are trying to choose between which supplier to work with, if you see that one has been to a trade show, then that would be a legitimate factor for choosing them. So how can you tell if your supplier has been to a trade show? Well, if you found them using Alibaba, it's quite simple. Just come to the company profile. If they have attended any trade shows, the trade show button will appear under additional information. Click on it to see which ones they exhibited at. For this company, we can see that they attended Hong Kong Trade Development Council in 2016, 2017, and 2018. Unfortunately, if you're using AliExpress, a lot of the time the original manufacturers are not listing the items for sale on there themselves. Take this camera lens travel mug from a company that I think you pronounce it O. They themselves do not actually sell it on AliExpress. Instead, what they choose to do is they work with wholesalers who then list it for sale. What I would recommend that you do in cases like this is that you check to see if the original manufacturer, in this case O, have been to trade shows themselves. To do that, find the brand of the item that you want to sell on AliExpress, then go to Alibaba and do a search for that brand and see if they've got a listing for it on there. If they do, open it up and visit the company profile to see if they have been to a trade show. As you can see, O have been to the Spring Canton Fair, which is the biggest trade show in the world. With this knowledge in hand, we know that the original manufacturer for this mug has been in business for quite some time, so we know that it's not just going to disappear. Now again, just because a supplier has not been to a trade show doesn't mean that they're some sort of a scam. Going to trade shows is very expensive, so making it a financially positive experience where you make enough sales to offset the costs of attending can be a challenge. So instead, use this information to help you choose if you are stuck between 2 competing suppliers. Tip 2. Avoid pictures with models. Here's a quick tip. If you are using photos for your item listing that are the same photos that the supplier has provided, avoid using ones that have models in them. Why? Well, because there is a reasonable chance that the supplier has illegally stolen those photos from the actual model themselves, which is an infringement on copyright. A model herself posted a comment on one of my videos talking about how this has happened to her. As I've explained before on this channel, most Chinese suppliers don't mind breaking copyright laws because of the fact that it's really easy to get away with that in China. But of course, it is not so easy to get away with that in the West. Now, usually the original copyright holder doesn't immediately sue, but they can do that. It is within their rights. They don't have to send a takedown notice first. But something that does happen regularly is that the original copyright holder will contact, say, Amazon if you're using that picture on there, and they will get them to take that listing down. Or if you're doing AliExpress dropshipping and you are advertising your product on Facebook, they will contact Facebook and get that ad taken down, which is very bad for your ad account. Now, not all photos that suppliers are using that have models in them are stolen, but because of the fact that you just don't know, it's risky to use them. So what I recommend is that if you want to use photos that have a model in them, get a sample product for yourself, and then you can take your own photos with it instead. Tip 3, check to see if you are working with a manufacturer, a trade company, or a wholesaler. When you're working with Chinese suppliers, you're going to run into 3 main types. You're going to find manufacturers, trade companies, and wholesalers. Now, this may sound boring and jargony, but it is really good to know what these terms mean. A manufacturer is exactly that. They are the company that originally created the item in their factory. Working with them usually means that you will get the lowest price. A trade company is a middleman who is working as an agent between you and a manufacturer. As a result, they often do have higher prices because of the fact that they need to make a profit themselves. Now, you may think that you should just avoid trade companies altogether, but that's not necessarily true. Sometimes it is better to be working with a trade company rather than the original manufacturer. And sometimes, due to the improved communication, you can actually negotiate lower prices than if you had gone directly to the manufacturer. And finally, a wholesaler is another form of a middleman. What they will do is they will purchase items in bulk and then they will send them out to you and I. On Alibaba, you're usually going to be running into either manufacturers or trade companies. You can find out if the company is a manufacturer or a trade company by going to their company profile. Under business type, it will tell you if a company is a manufacturer, trade company, or, as in this case here, both. Yes, this company is both a manufacturer and a trade company. What that means is they do manufacture their own products, but they act as a middleman for some other types of products that they don't produce as well. For example, the main item that they manufacture in their factories is this camera lens travel mug. You can tell because on their Alibaba item listing for it, the brand is listed as the factory's OO brand. Whereas this pretty cool coffee cup holder does not have their brand, and so most likely they are selling it as a trade company. Now, on AliExpress, you will often find either manufacturers or wholesalers, and a really good way to figure out if a company is most likely either a manufacturer or wholesaler is to see if they are selling more than one type of brand. For example, this store here, Trans Home, which has been featured on our channel numerous times before, is clearly the original manufacturer's store. Not only is it named Trans Home Official Store, but they only sell Trans Home branded items in it. On the other hand, this store here, Mr. and Mrs. Store, is clearly a wholesaler, as they have a non-branded store name and they stock items made by multiple brands. For example, they are selling several kitchen items manufactured by OO, and they are selling multiple dog-related items manufactured by Dog Lemmy, and they are selling several different lighters produced by LC Fun. And again, neither is better than the other. Oftentimes, manufacturers will have the lowest prices, but on the other hand, wholesalers will often have a wide selection of items. There are pros and cons. Tip 4, recapping agreements is crucial. Now, there are several advantages for working with Chinese suppliers. One of them being their incredibly low prices. And when I tell people about what I do, I get a lot of comments from people that say things like, oh, the Chinese, they just produce cheap, trashy items. And that is just not true. And I personally think that that's a really unfair stereotype. I mean, yes, you will find factories in China that produce low quality items, but the same goes for the West. I have a friend who is an incredible artist, and she was going to a comic convention and she had a booth. She wanted to produce a bunch of pins so that she could sell them to her fans. For the longest time, she had been working with a factory in England, and the pins that she was producing were not very high quality and they were extremely expensive. And so I asked her, have you looked into using a factory in China? And she said that she had, and that if she used them, she'd be paying a fraction of the price. But she was afraid to, because she did not trust the quality of the pins that they would produce. With a bit of encouragement from me, she did try the factory in China, and guess what? Not only did she save hundreds of dollars, but the pins that they produced were higher in quality. So no, local manufacturers aren't just better because they aren't Chinese. But there is one big advantage to working with local manufacturers and suppliers. And that is the language barrier. So when you're working with Chinese suppliers, I recommend that you ask very specific questions. For example, let's say that you're private labeling on Amazon and you want to purchase a bulk lot of items from your Chinese supplier, but you want to know what your shipping costs will be. Ask very specific questions. Never assume that they will figure out to give you this information on their own. Ask them things like, what are the dimensions of each carton? How much do they weigh? How many units fit inside a box? If you don't ask specific questions and instead ask something like, what are the dimensions and the weight of each box? I want to figure out what the shipping cost per item will. Almost always, they're going to answer with a literal answer. They'll tell you the weight of the box, they'll tell you the dimensions of it, but they won't think to tell you how many units fit inside each one. Even though you need that information to figure it out. A lot of suppliers will not think to give it to you because of the language barrier. So whether you are negotiating an agreement with a supplier that you found on Alibaba or a dropshipper that you found on AliExpress, get them to recap each specific part of your agreement in writing so that you can make sure that everyone has the exact same expectations. Tip 5. Prioritize products that have multiple manufacturers. Perhaps you want to manufacture and private label your first item for Amazon and you've found 2 items that both look excellent. Or maybe you're drop shipping an item from AliExpress and you've found 2 items that you would like to run a Facebook ad for and you're trying to decide between the 2 of them because you're on a limited budget. My advice here would be to see which item has multiple reliable suppliers and to prioritize that item. Why? Well, because as I mentioned earlier in this video, Chinese suppliers and manufacturers are often working off of small margins. That means that if they are financially mismanaged, then there is a very good chance that they will go out of business. And if they go out of business, then you're kind of going out of business too. In China, manufacturers copy each other all the time because there's basically no legal repercussions for this. So this is a great example of that. On Alibaba, you can see that there are multiple manufacturers that are producing their own version of the camera lens travel mug. That means that if you were private labeling this item for Amazon, if your main manufacturer went out of business, you know that you could find another one. And on AliExpress, we can see that there are multiple sellers that are selling their own brand of it as well. This means then that if you were drop shipping this item in your own Shopify store and then your main supplier went away, you know that you could find another one so that you could keep selling this mug and keep making money. So I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you did, then I know that you would love our other videos that are about selling online. So be sure to subscribe to Wholesale Ted and click that little notification bell next to the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of our videos. And did you know that we here at Wholesale Ted have a premium step-by-step video training course called the Dropship Club? It teaches you how to create a profitable dropshipping store from start to finish. And you'll find a link on how you can join in the video description below. And I've got one last freebie that I'd love to give you. Here at Wholesale Ted, we have a free ebook that teaches you the 6 steps that 6-figure dropshipping stores follow to make over $10,000 every month. To get that ebook for yourself, simply click on the download link in the video description as well.